MVP, this is going to be so brutal to have to talk about for so many weeks. I have a feeling this is going to be like an Embiid Jokic. Short of calling people racist if they don't vote for the guy you like, it's going to have everything else that we had in NBA most valuable player. What do I want to happen? I'd like Dak Prescott to win. I bet a lot of money on him. He was 40-1. Now he's not. Now he's like 5-1 or 8-1 or whatever, which is great. I don't think his chances of winning are that good because the Eagles never lose. And if Elliott misses the kick, now I think I'm cooking. And the root of the handicap was this game that we just talked about, Seahawks-Cowboys. If Dak wins this game, and the projection a few weeks ago was look at the schedule. They play the Panthers. They play the Commanders. I mean, this was the video we clipped off from the show. Play the Panthers. They play the Commanders. They play the Seahawks. They're a big favorite in all three games. Then they play Philly. So that's a week from this Sunday. It's the end of Philly's really difficult schedule stretch. And then Philly closes a little easier, obviously. So Philly's going to play San Francisco. Then they play Dallas. It's in Dallas. Obviously, that first meeting was hotly contested. Dak key mistake. They end up losing the game. And since then, Dak's been unbelievable. And the root of the handicap was if they get to that game and the division is in doubt, so if Dallas is one game back, then if they win that game and they have a chance to win the division and Dak outplays Hurts, I think he actually is really alive to win. That handicap, and it'd be like, wow, that's like really smart. That was like 3 weeks ago. You've called it perfectly. That handicap is on life support right now. Because if the Eagles just literally never, like if the Eagles beat San Francisco, I actually think I don't have a chance. And I haven't even gotten to the game yet. I haven't even got to the last 3 weeks of the season yet. I think I have no chance. So like Dallas has to hold up their end of the bargain. They have to beat Seattle. He has to play well in the game. And then we go into the Philly game and like, okay, if Philly's 2 games ahead and Dallas wins, do I get a lot? And then Dallas got to play Detroit later in the season. I just really, like, did I even accomplish a lot here? That's what I'm worried about. So I'll be rooting. I actually can't even root for San Francisco in the game, which we'll get to in a second. But, like, it's a tough spot. So, like, my position has aged awesome, and I'm still really nervous. I think Hurts is insanely likely to win despite things you read on Twitter. And we can go Thursday. We'll do a more thorough unpacking of, like, what that means. I think the analytics community in football has like lost their minds completely on this one. Analytics is incredibly helpful.
Well, on this
very impactful.
Take that off the sentence.
No, I don't even think it's, I disagree with that. Basically, this has gone too far because the idea is that wins don't matter anymore. Not that they are like one of the weights, which is what I would argue. They're one of the things that has to be considered. I want the team record and I want the stats, and I want to balance those things out, and I want to make a really informed decision. No, not enough for the analytics community. It's got to be like wins always spelled with a Z because they're the stupidest statistic in the entire world, and they don't matter. So let's award the MVP to a guy who goes 4-13, but he has the best EPA. Let's do that, because that sounds like so much fun to give out a trophy to a guy who loses all the time. Because in our statistic, he's the best. And if awards are going to become this, it doesn't matter what actually happened. It only matters what the expected result was. If we're going to start handing out awards this way, if we're going to start like just having sports be this way in everything, not like what I said before, not like team strategy, shot selection. If we're going to like literally we're going to give out the Super Bowl to the team with what? The highest EPA number? We're not going to play the playoff games? Doesn't matter. They're too luck driven.
Like the Bills will win the Super Bowl based on this.
And we didn't talk about this with Bills Eagles. Like I couldn't have enjoyed watching that game more. And so put my kids to bed, go downstairs, I open up my phone, be like, all right, like I'm gonna scroll through. I was looking for a couple of injury updates, like Myles Garrett, a couple other things. And it's amazing how fast the game ends. And everyone in the analytics community, Usain Bolt sprints to their computer to tell me how Josh Allen's better than Jalen Hurts off that game. Like that was the first thing they had to say. Like the Eagles win an incredibly high leverage game. They're the best team in the league. Hurts played great in the second half. He leads them to a win in overtime.
I mean, like a Heisman moment, right?
Breaking 40-yard dash times to come tell me about how good the Bills are and how I can't blame Josh Allen for anything. Breaking land speed records. Like, if that's the first thing you think off a game like that, like you're broken. Like, are you even a sports fan? I watched that game at the time of my life. It was awesome. It was so fun to watch that game, and I felt really bad for the Bills, and I felt really bad for Josh Allen. But guess what? Like, winners get trophies. That's how it works in life. Winners get trophies. So, like, yeah, I'm sure the expected result let's give Josh Allen the expected MVP. Let's give him that one. Like, I'm so done with what this discussion. It hasn't even really started yet, and I'm already done with it. Like, yeah, yes, in awards, not in the expected world, in awards. Things we hand out, the Super Bowl, most valuable player. Yeah, winning matters. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, sorry, the games count. Sorry, they matter. I know it's all luck. So totally luck the Eagles win every game. Yeah, like it actually matters. Like it's going to be such a tiresome argument. And I don't even win any money on, I wish I won money on Jalen Hurts. I wish I won a lot of money because I do think he's going to win. I think he's the most likely player to win.
Dallas is now a 9.5-point home favorite against the Seahawks. So this game on Thursday, both teams obviously played on Thanksgiving, so a full regular rest for both these teams coming into this game. Dallas laying 9.5. The total here is 46. I guess, like Geno Smith made it through the game on Thursday, but there's still questions about his health, obviously, coming into this game. And Dallas kind of just beats the crap out of bad teams, period, and definitely at home. I guess the conversation that we have to have is, Seattle a bad team? Ken, pen, pencil, blood, or blank early in the week for Thursday night with your team, Lockie's team, the Cowboys, and the dumb Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and I'll just point out, at MGM, the number on the screen right now, Cowboys are still 8.5. There are some sub-9 numbers left in the market, and I kind of alluded to this, was on yesterday's show? I think it was yesterday's show, where I go, oh yeah, because it was like if you were going to get to Sunday night or Monday and you wanted to tease a team, like you didn't, at 4 o'clock, you wouldn't have any legs left to put one of the teams with. And I go, just put it with Dallas on Thursday. Like, because that market had already kind of like taken shape. You still do have the ability to tease the Cowboys, although not for much longer, probably. Most places have gone to 9. The 2-team 6-pointer no longer valid in that situation. I like that bet a lot, pairing that with a number of other things like, I don't know, the Eagles to not get blown out would be like a pretty good idea, probably. So, the team that wins all the time. And I say that really arrogantly, but like, not really. They just like almost never, they just almost never lose. And you bring up the Cowboys home thing. I think that's interesting, but I think you hit the nail on the head, right? And I do think this is actually like a really interesting thing. The Cowboys have played such a polarizing schedule. So just to dig into like kind of what you're saying, the beat up on bad teams thing, I think we've covered that a lot on the show, but just to like really, like you take the opponents that they played so far this year, and you can put most of them into 2 distinct buckets, right? Like contending team, San Francisco, Philadelphia, absolutely atrocious team, Washington, Carolina, the Giants twice, the Patriots, and the Jets. And to be fair, Arizona, who beat them. But like most of their opponents this year have gone into 2 buckets. You really only have the Chargers game and the Rams game as these like in the middle data points of like, well, when they play a team that they're not like so much better than, or when they play a team that's not going to win the Super Bowl, what happens? And these 2 games played out very differently. Like the Chargers game was kind of like a nip and tuck 3-point win. They absolutely demolished the Rams. And I know the Chargers are better than the Rams. They're not the same team, but like, I think there's some mystery in terms of like what this is going to be. I think this is about the right number. I think they should be a little more than a touchdown, but like you seem to think it's like a smash spot for Dallas. Like, I think we can at least agree Seattle isn't like the Mac Jones Patriots and the Zach Wilson Jets and the Giants twice and Washington on Thursday. Like, they're at least not that. I guess, like, does it matter, I guess would be the question. So I think this is fine. I am very confident Dallas is going to win the game. I think they are much better. I think that's reflected in the point spread, so I want to tease away from it.
I love the teaser thought. I don't know if I want to lay Dallas in the game yet. I would never bet Seattle. I guess, like, if it went to 10, I would, like, have to have, like, at least, like, hey, like, maybe I want to take 10 with Seattle here. I don't think Seattle's a good team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs at this rate. And Ken, you did a great job like illuminating their schedule coming up here and like what it looks like. They're very likely to lose this game. I don't know how they're scoring, how the Seahawks are going to score in this game. And on the flip side, your guy, Dak Prescott, maybe he doesn't win MVP because the Eagles just like never lose. They're going to torch this defense. Like, look what the Niners just did to them. Dallas is going to, and that was at home.
And that closing spread, too. That was basically like a 7-point Niners spread on the road. This is Dallas at home, and you'd be like, well, it's 8.5 as opposed to, you're in the same range. And they got to go on the road. And it's like, yeah, San Francisco's definitely better than Dallas by some amount. Like, they played and it was a big amount. But like, even like on a rating standpoint, like there's some amount better. But like, you're in the same range, and the Cowboys are the absolute nuts in these home games. I mean, they've been really good. I think they've scored like 40 in basically every home game they played this year against every single type of team. So to me, it's funny because to me, that means like, oh, cool, the number's fine. And to you, it's kind of like, is it fine? Like, is it okay? Or do I want to lay Dallas?
Yeah, I would only bet Dallas in the game, never Seattle. Santa, how should we be betting the national title right now in college football?
Will Ohio State make the playoff? Will they fire their coach before that's even possible? Will that happen? Stay tuned. Seems really unlikely. There's too many good teams left. I mean, they need like some kind of weird doomsday scenario to have kind of any chance to make it. I think at least Ohio State, that is. The crux. I think there's a couple interesting things, and one interesting thing that doesn't happen in the playoff normally. So we talked about this on Sunday. This idea that there's actually like a lot we don't know with 1 week left. Like even if like, well, if this team wins and this team wins, what happens? I don't know if anybody's totally sure of what the run out is when that happens. And also like, please don't read anything to the rankings that come out tomorrow. Those rankings can be completely flip-flopped and changed around, and the committee can make up a totally new rationale next week for who to put in. So like if a team's ahead of a team, like wherever Florida State, like I don't care where they are right now. I only, like the rule of the playoff rankings, you only have to care about the last one. It's the only one you have to care about. None of them are predictive of what the final one is going to be. Most interesting thing to me with title odds, one thing yesterday, Georgia's the second favorite, and there's actually a chance they don't make it. What if they lose? Alabama's obviously in. Michigan's almost assuredly in. Winner of Oregon, Washington's in. And then it's like, okay, well, if Florida State wins, or if Texas wins, and they both have one loss, really, it's like if Florida State wins, like, are they going to leave Georgia out for the hurt quarterback team, but that hasn't lost a game yet this year? I think that's reasonable. I've had a bunch of people message me like, you really think Florida State's going to make it? You really think they're going to take them? Now, they can set whatever precedent they want because the entire format's changing next year. They can do whatever they want. I don't think they want to take Florida State. It's bad for ratings to take Florida State and leave out Georgia. Totally understand that. I think if they don't lose, this is going to sound stupid because they do. I don't know if they really have a choice in the negotiations in the room if Florida State doesn't lose. Like, we've never had a team like this. They can set a new precedent. I think they put Florida State in. Power conference team that literally didn't lose all year. Like, didn't lose. I think they'd be in. And if it comes down to them in Georgia, then it's really dicey, and we'll see. So I do think that's interesting, the idea that the team that's the second choice may not make it. The other thing that's really interesting, if Florida State makes it, I'll be honest, I love them at this point spread against Louisville. The markets for these games have changed in really interesting ways. Florida State's under a field goal now against Louisville. I think they're going to find a way to win that game. I do. I actually think, like, regardless of who plays quarterback, I actually think they're that much better than Louisville on a neutral field. And I'm not even saying Louisville's a bad team. I actually really like that number. And the interesting thing is, okay, play it out. They win. Let's say the committee gives them a spot. Maybe you disagree, you don't think, but whatever. Let's play out this hypothetical. I think it's more likely than most people do that Florida State makes it. If they make it, for the first time, I think ever, it puts the most incredible premium possible on being the 1 seed, which is never true. Being the 1 and the 2 is usually irrelevant, does not matter. The 3 and the 4 are usually both bad, or the one is such a dominant team, it's not even an argument about who the 1's going to be. Joe Burrow, LSU, or something like that, where it's like, yeah, they're the 1. Like, you can't even change it around. We also sometimes have 2 teams from the same conference make it, and the committee will go out of its way to put them in separate semifinals. So it's almost like a political game. At that point, we don't have that this year. We likely don't have that. Alabama and Georgia, I guess, could still both make it, but like that seems unlikely. Obviously, they wouldn't play each other. They'd rig it so even if they should be 2-3, they wouldn't play each other. So I guess my point would just be, I think Michigan's going to be the 1 tomorrow because they beat Ohio State, and I think that's like the reward for beating Ohio State. I guess my question is Georgia beating Alabama enough to get Georgia the 1, or is Michigan definitely the 1 if they win? I kind of think Michigan's definitely the 1 if they win. And if that's true, this is how they win the national title. And I will use this term, and it'll make everybody that roots for Florida State mad, they get a walkover in the semifinal. That's how they end up making the title and winning the national championship. Florida State wins, they make it, they're the 4. Michigan by 75, they win. Like, that's how they win the title. And then guess what you'll probably get in the other semifinal? You'll get the Dan Lanning Bowl. You'll get the most talented Oregon team maybe in history against Georgia. And I actually think Oregon would win.